Hello again, Rink Rats. Welcome to Season 9, Episode 16, Bedard-less World. I am filling in tonight for Andy Campbell, who's on a bus with sweaty teenagers. So don't be envious of Andy on that regard.
You should probably give more context.
He's on a bus with the Brooks Hockey Club, or hockey
that
team.
Is definitely not the way
team.
I would describe what he is doing.
In any event. I am joined by one of the usual suspects, Jimmy O'Malley, and the founder of The-Rink, co-founder, although I think he's always the true founder, Jeff Osborn, the gatekeeper.
Look at you buttering me up, man.
Oh, yeah, Jeez. I figured
I had to jump in. Andy's running late, so I'll jump in and chat with you boys for a little bit.
Perfect. Well, we're glad to have you. Always glad to have you, even though I don't butter you up all the time. So, all right. So we are in a Connor Bedard-less world. We got some news earlier this week about Connor Bedard being ruled out until at least the new year. Jimmy, do you think that is the right course of action, or do you think the Hawks are babying him a little bit?
I mean, based on the description of the injury, I think it's the right thing to do. Separated shoulders are nothing to mess with. You want to make sure they are fully healed because further damage is very common if you play on a separated shoulder. We're talking full dislocations, possible tears. I mean, that is something you really have to be careful for, especially in a sport where like shoulder mobility is extremely important. And when it's a very physical sport, so when you're falling, usually the shoulder is one of the first points of contact with the ice. So I don't think they're babying him at all. This is a very, very serious injury. I'm sure everyone has gone through a similar injury and knows that it's really detrimental to play with it. So I don't think they're babying him.
Gate, have you separated your shoulder before? I feel like you have.
No, not much. That's one injury I have not had.
Okay.
But I am dealing with, my son right now is dealing with a broken clavicle, so it's a little bit worse than a separated shoulder. But yeah.
So what do you think on them holding him out through the new year, Gate?
I mean, at this point, there's no reason to rush him back. They're not going to the playoffs, and any little bit at this point, if the shoulder has a little bit of weakness to it, or there's an injury, and it kind of pushes him out of the Olympic talk, good, let him rest, let's stretch it out a little bit, and then let's let him sit out the Olympics. And he's not going to make the Olympics now anyway. So
nope.
Let's just not push it too much. There's there's no benefit to pushing him. Just, let him come back when he comes back. At this point, they're probably going to be in the, bottom 10 as far as picking in the lottery, at least for one of their picks, probably maybe for two of their picks.
Yeah.
And then, we just have fun, and, maybe we stretch it out to the end of the season and they have another run like they did at the beginning of the season where it's actually fun again. And they're not giving up 10 goals or 2 goals in the last 10 seconds of the game, or, getting shut out 7-0 and 6-1 on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just let's let him reset, because you're putting a lot on his shoulders, and literally you're putting a lot on his shoulders. And, just let it be. Let's not rush it.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. He's the face of the franchise. He drives the Blackhawks engine, and you don't want to risk a long-term injury due to rushing him, as we saw with the other Doc, Kirby Doc, not Colton. I am Skokes. Thank you for coming back, saying hi. The dudes are back here, so we welcome you watching us again. I wanted to, Gate, you had mentioned something about giving up 3 goals in the end of the Toronto game. I wanted Jimmy and I were having a spirited debate about this in the chat, and I wanted to bring it up here. Jimmy, you believe that the Hawks lost that game because of a lack of motivation. Why expound upon that? Why do you think it was a lack of motivation? Because I personally believe it was a lack of discipline, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. And then Gate, I want to get who you think, or if you think we're both way off base.
Yeah. I will further explain, and I think this is the big thing Sean and I disagreed with. I think I think discipline is driven from motivation. So if you're undisciplined, you might be unmotivated. It just feels like this team right now, it's in such a funk. Like, especially after that first goal Toronto scored, you almost felt like the team just cowered into a shell of oh crap, here we go again. And you almost felt like, not that they wanted to give up the lead. Obviously, no one wants to lose. You just felt like they felt like it was inevitable. So they almost wanted to lie down and just get out of the ice. I think that's just a sign to the motivation that can sometimes hit this team. They haven't been playing well. They won one game in the last, 5 or 6 games. It was against the Rangers, and it took a Spencer Knight fantastic showing. You just feel like this team, with guys like Bedard and Foligno out, you just get this feeling that they don't have that guy on the bench or that skill on the ice that motivates them to keep their discipline. Where you just, especially Foligno, I think we're really seeing what the lack of Foligno does to this team. I think Foligno really keeps his guys in gear. I think he's basically a second head coach on this team, and not having him out there to keep these guys focused. Foligno would respond to that first Leafs goal hey, get set. We're still up by 1. We got 10 minutes. You got to lock in for a little bit more. And with Bedard on the ice, you get that young leadership along with that skill. Hey, sure, we just gave up a goal, but we still have offensive firepower. We can get it done. So you get this feeling this team is almost slogging itself to the Christmas break, and the discipline is coming from this feeling of almost they're deflated and unmotivated because of just how the stretch has been.
So I think in terms of motivation, I think the team wants to be good. That's not lacking from the team. I think that's the motivation. And I think the lack of discipline comes from, like you said, not having your leaders there holding you accountable, but also not holding yourself personally accountable. I think Mikheyev making that terrible turnover in his own end that led to the power play goal was a lack of discipline. He had a momentary lapse and it cost him the game. I think Gate pointed out in our chat, Spencer Knight giving up that third goal when he should have saved it. He'd been great the entire game. I think that was a lack of discipline. The Hawks looked like the last 10 minutes of that game, they had no idea how to play hockey. And Matt Grzelcyk wheeling the puck around in his own end when we needed to be advancing and trying to get the puck in deep so we could at least get a shot attempt off with the extra attacker. And then when we had the extra attacker, we still didn't pull the trigger. I think it's just a lack of discipline. You have to be disciplined in your craft, whether you're having a good night or you're having a bad night. You've got to make the simple plays. And I think motivation is more you're intrinsically motivated. I want to be a good player. I want to be a good player. Or you're extrinsically motivated where I want to play well for my next contract. That's what motivates people, I think, in my opinion. But I think the lack of discipline, like Artem Levshinov not being at practice on time and being late for meetings and not holding each other to a higher standard. You cannot take 2 penalties in the last 4 minutes of a game against a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, especially when Austin Matthews had been invisible that entire game, and then he gets going on the power play. So I think that was the big thing that was lacking in the loss to Toronto. Gate, now that you've heard both sides, where do you come down on this, or do you disagree with both of us?
It's not that I disagree with you, because I don't. I agree with both of you. I think it's more of a semantics argument. I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you. They're missing a bunch of their leaders. The people out there who they look to, the young kids will look at when the game's going bad. They're going to look at Nick Foligno, and he's a 4th line player. They're not looking at how he's going to play, but just how he conducts himself, how he acts in the moment, how he treats the play Because, he's not going to go out there and lead the team and score a bunch of goals for him, but he's going to go out there and he's going to play tough and he's going to be confident and, he's going to pump the boys up. And when they start looking like they're a little down or they're doubting themselves, he's going to be there to be like, hey man, we got this. I'm here with you. I'm right next to you, and that means a lot. I mean,
it does.
They are adults, but you see this with kids too. Sometimes they just don't know how to act. They just don't know. They've been in the position before in lower levels, but when they get to the highest level that they can get, like the Olympics or the NHL or whatever, like sometimes you regress to that kid. It's like, oh, well, I want to look at the parent or the authority and see what they think.
Right.
And you're missing a lot of that,
Right.
There's not, you got Jason Dickinson, who's, sort of that guy, but Foligno and Bedard are your two guys right there. And Redzel's gone and Levshinov's not playing. So some of the guys, the younger guys who are the higher talent guys aren't there. And Frank Nazar
hasn't
struggling.
scored a goal in 21 games.
He's struggling mightily. And so he's not the guy you're going to be looking at like, hey, what are we doing this? Because he's having his own problems. There's a lot going on that isn't going on, really.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I agree with both of you. You guys got both got great points. Like from both ends, I think you're both hitting it. Just you got to meet in the middle.
Yeah, and I am Skokes. Thanks for the comment. Ever since Foligno left, the effort and the losses have been a downhill slide, in his opinion. Well, he's not wrong. Okay, so Gate, I'm going to go to you this one. So Levshinov was late to practice. The unwritten rule is practice starts at 10 a.m., but it usually starts earlier. Levshinov showed up at the building at 9:20. He then, in a drill, wasn't paying attention, in which he missed his turn in the rotation, and Blashill went off with an expletive-laced tirade on the young defenseman. What do you think? Do you think this is part of the Levshinov experience, or do you think that with time in the NHL and getting older that these problems will eventually go away? Because let's not forget, he also has a language barrier. He doesn't really speak much English.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
No, I don't. I think he speaks better English than you're giving him credit for, but I don't think that's the issue.
Okay.
What I just think is this guy, he's not your conventional robotic hockey player, which is what I like about him. I love about him. He's the Brent Burns type. He's the Dustin Byfuglien type.
Yeah.
He's the off the wall, different, unique type of personality. Unfortunately, you get with people like that is you get these unique situations where they do things or they're forgetful or they do something childish or silly or irresponsible, and this is what's going to happen. But that being said, Blashill then is he's holding the young guys accountable. Like, listen, you could have been one of the best defensemen in college. You were the number 3 overall draft pick, but that doesn't mean you can come to practice late.
Yep.
You're a young guy. You're supposed to be one of the young leaders on this team. You need to be here before everybody else. If it's somebody that's missing, it's the 4th line guy or it's the 10th forward or something like that. It's not my guy on the power play that leads the power play. It's not, one of my top pairing defenseman guys. Like, show him now when it doesn't really matter. Throw him in the box for a game. And this may never happen again.
Yeah.
But you got to hold them accountable. You can't let them get away with it because you let them get away with it now, and they're always going to expect to get away with it.
Right. Yep. Jimmy, are you catching Gates Frisbee, to quote the great Andy Campbell?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you guys remember, but Artem Levshinov had a situation like this last year in Rockford where he was also late to a practice, and he also got scratched by Mark Eden, who was the interim coach at the time. Like he got scratched for a disciplinary reason. The big thing with this is you don't want this to become a pattern. You don't want him to feel like almost being late is okay or cutting it close is okay, because it's not. I think back to I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but it was a documentary on the 1994 New York Rangers, and they were interviewing Iron Mike Keaton, and he was talking about like to be be a championship team, you cannot be ordinary, because like ordinary, it's very ordinary to not win the cup. All but one team does not win the cup, so it's very ordinary to not to win. To be a championship team, you have to be odd. You have to be different. You have to be extraordinary. You have to demand of yourself more than anyone else can. And yes, this team's not a championship team, but the illusion I'm trying to make is like you as Artem Levshunov, former second overall pick, the defenseman that Chicago and Kyle Davidson are hitching their wagons to when this team reaches its, championship window, you got to hold them to an extraordinary standard. It's not enough to be just on time. It's not even enough to be just early. Like, you have to be first in the door. You have to be the most attentive guy in every room. And I get it. He's 20 years old. 3 years ago, the kid was in Belarus, probably this meteoric rise is absurd to him, even in his wildest dreams. But you got to get him down to earth. You got to tell him, hey, like, as Gabe mentioned, I don't care if you're the best hockey player in college. You gotta be extraordinary here. You got to treat yourself like you're an extraordinary talent. And extraordinary talents kick their own butts all the time and say, I'm first in, I'm last out. I kick my own ass in practice. I kick my own ass, in the games with the effort, because everyone follows me. And this is a guy that, we expect to be 1D of this franchise. He has to treat himself like that. I'm glad Blashill got in his face. Like,
I agree with. I'm glad Blashill got in his face, and I think what Gates said, like, he is an oddity, he is an oddball, and sometimes you need that. Like, I know I'm going to make a baseball reference here, but Manny Ramirez, Manny being Manny, he was an odd guy, but when it came down to it, you knew he would be there and be clutch. So maybe we just need to let Levy be Levy in that regard, like, be an oddity, but still adhere to the rules and be on time. So hopefully he learns from this. Hopefully the Hawks can move forward, because they need him, especially his puck moving ability on the back end and his ability to get into the zone with the puck. I think that was abundantly lacking, especially in that last sequence of the game where they couldn't get the puck through the neutral zone into the Maple Leafs own end so we could at least get a shot off. I think he creates so much, and they can't have him not be on the ice when it matters. Mm-hmm. So I really like that. We had talked about Blashill being held accountable. Well, Ken Kellenbach wants us to hold Jeff Blashill accountable. His question is, why does Blashill not get the same level of heat for his man defense as Colliton did? You swap Knight for Lincoln, and we're looking at the same thing. Ken, first off, thank you for the question. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tweeting. Gate, what do you think?
I mean, Jeremy Colliton was a green coach.
Yep.
That barely, he had 1 year in the AHL.
1 year in the AHL and 4 in the second tier Swedish, like the league before below the top league in Sweden.
Jeff Blashill has a history, of being fairly successful. I'm not going to say I wouldn't call it, maybe slightly successful in the NHL. He coached a team for a while, and so he gets a little more runway. He should get a little more runway Jeremy Colliton got. That being said, I trust in that if this isn't really working and things they're not picking it up, or he doesn't believe they're going to ever pick it up, he's going to move from it quick enough. I think he knows what he's doing. Jeremy Colliton didn't know what he was doing. Plain and simple. He was awful. He wasn't great in Rockford, and then they threw him in the NHL too early. He really didn't know what he was doing. And he was, I heard some awful stories. I heard stories of players saying that he was the worst coach they'd ever played for, and they played in Buffalo. So
And
that's what I heard.
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
disaster. They just Buffalo, if you missed it, fired their general manager and brought in Yarmo, who had presided over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Their previous general manager had worked in the business department before being made general manager. So that's how screwed up the Buffalo Sabres are.
Yeah. So it's
Jimmy,
like,
what do you think?
I think the reason we have a little bit of a leash for Blashill is just in a short time here in Chicago. He has won. We have seen him win. We have seen his strategies work. I also like to believe that he's just kind of experimenting a little bit. He just wants to see how guys do in certain situations. Like we've seen earlier in the year, he wasn't doing man-to-man defense. He was playing more zone. But I think he's trying to mix it up, trying to see if something else works. And, you're coming off a couple games where you're getting outscored like 5. I get that he's like, maybe we need to try this man-to-man defense and see what it does. Or like without Foligno and Bedard, maybe you need to just see what you can do with man-to-man. So I'm willing to believe he's just kind of experimenting, seeing when something works. Unlike Colleton, I think Blashill is smart enough to know when something doesn't work. And I think eventually you're going to see Blashill just say, all right, this doesn't work. I need to go back to different systems that worked a little better. And you got to remember, too, like this is the first time for most of the season he's gone with the 12-6 lineup. So maybe it's just an adjustment period with having one less defenseman, one more forward. He has to try different things. Maybe he thought man-to-man would work better. It's clearly not. Who knows? But I'm willing to believe he's just trying to experiment and it's just not working. And I think he's smart enough to realize I got to get off this man-to-man defense. So,
well, and also from what I Google's AI had told me earlier today when I Googled it, Blashill's system is more of a hybrid system, so it blends man-to-man higher in the zone with zone principles supporting the puck battles low. It aimed for players to swarm and support each other in puck battles. Colleton's system was more of your forwards were man-to-man defensively. So that's a big difference. I also like to touch on what Gates said, like the respect level. Blashill is won at other levels besides the NHL. Like he took the Wings to the playoffs, their last playoff run. He won in the USHL. He won in college. He's been an NHL head coach before. And he's teaching an offensive or defensive system to young players. Like when Jeremy Colleton came in, he was trying to teach Brent Seabrook, Duncan Keith, and other experienced defensemen how to play his hybrid man system that had no level of success at the NHL level at all. Also, he's not respected by Duncan Keith or Brent Seabrook. And clearly, like, Colleton doesn't have the coaching pedigree that Jeff Blashill did because Colleton has been available for jobs for how long? He's only coached the Vancouver AHL team before moving on to be an assistant in New Jersey. So I think the system itself, and I wish Andy was here because Andy would get more into the X's and O's of the defensive system and especially like the puck moving defenseman aspect of it. But yeah, that's where we come down on it, Ken. Thank you for the question. Like we said, we appreciate everything. And Brendan had a comment saying that you're odd. I'm assuming he's referring to all of us because we are all odd in our own little ways. And of course, Gates' response was, I myself am strange and unusual, which tracks. Which totally tracks. All right. So now that we've talked about that, some other news that came through the pipeline. Marcel, one of my favorite players who never progressed over an AHL contract, is now going back to Europe. Laurent Brossoit cleared waivers and is now a member of the Rockford Ice Hogs, which, as Charlie Romeliotis pointed out and Eric Andrews brought it to all our attention, it makes him easier to trade because in the event that Brossoit was claimed off waivers, he would have to remain on an NHL roster for 30 days. Now in his current state as a goalie in the AHL, he can be traded and sent to the AHL with another organization. So if somebody's willing to take a flyer on Brossoit, let's remember he's still due, I believe, $3.3 million in the cap hit. this year. So that's some other news. And then I believe Rim Pitlick was reacquired by the Rockford Ice Hogs to bolster their scoring. Any other news I forgot about the Hawks organization and that little spiel there?
Ethan Del Mastro got recalled and played yesterday against Toronto. I thought he looked really good.
You did? What do you think, Gate? Yeah, I think you don't seem to concur on that one.
No. I agree. That was not because of what Jimmy said.
Oh, okay. It's just because of what I said. Yeah.
I think what surprised me the most with Ethan Del Mastro, he seemed a lot more offensively engaged, which is something he wasn't in his short time in the NHL, and even at times in the AHL. He's a lot more conservative in his play. He's a lot more comfortable in his own end than he is in the offensive end. So seeing this from him is pretty impressive. I think it might also just be a wake-up call for him in terms of his career. Like, hey, if you want to make it in the NHL, you got to start putting, pucks to the net and start moving that puck around the offensive zone. Or at best, you're a third pairing, seventh defenseman kind of guy. You got to add to your game. So it's good to see him up. Unfortunate that kind of the circumstances were that Levshunov needed to be scratched to put him in the lineup. But it's good to see Del Mastro out there. Good to see him play well in a game that was a little bit crappy at the end.
Do you think Del Mastro is going to get a little bit of run at the NHL level now, or do you think he's going to be sent down once Levshunov is back in the next game? Or are they going to go back to the 11-7? So 2 questions. We'll go with Jimmy first.
That'd be interesting. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they kept him up until after the Christmas break, because Rockford only plays one more time before the Christmas break. They play on the 20th. They play on Saturday, and then they don't play again until the 27th. I know the Blackhawks. Did they play 2 or 3 games before the Christmas break?
I know they have 2. I think they have 3. They have 2 more on this road trip with Ottawa and who else? It's an East Coast trip they played, or maybe it's just Ottawa on this one because I can't remember. But I'm pretty sure they play on the 23rd at home.
Yeah, they play the Flyers on the 23rd, if I remember correctly. I'm going to look up their schedule right now just to confirm.
I was going to say, to the Google machine.
Yeah. Tomorrow they play Montreal. Saturday they play Ottawa, and then Tuesday they play the Flyers. So I'm guessing they're going to give Del Mastro those 3 games. It's better than sending him down just to play 1 until the Christmas break. Get him 3 games, send him down after when both the Blackhawks and Rockford reconvene on the 27th with their season. I think that makes a lot more sense. Plus, giving yourself a 7th defenseman if you want to go 11-7, or if you just need a guy, that you need to rotate in guys. Would say you want to give Murphy a day off or Grizzlick, you can put in Del Mastro, keep 6 guys out there. So I'm going to say I think he could stay. I think he played well enough Toronto to give himself at least 3 extra games, give him 4 games on the season. No, he didn't play earlier in the season. So 4 games on the season. I think that makes sense. I think Rockford, you can go a game without him. They have plenty of guys down there. I can't remember if Kevin Fitzgerald is still injured. I think he's back.
Well, Gate, to Jimmy's point, Rockford does have a ton of guys. They have Sam Rinzel down there who had some comments saying that he's smiling, he's enjoying the game again. Do you think that when Rinzel eventually is recalled, we'll see a different type of player, similar to the player we saw to start the year?
Well, I hope so. I mean, that's kind of like he's getting the Korchinski treatment, I think, how Korchinski got. I know he had to stay up his first year, but because of the transfer rules and everything like that. But I think, I don't know. We don't know. I'm hoping, he's a good player. He was a leader on his team, in college and stuff. I'm hoping that he, gets it back together and comes back a stronger, happier, and more confident player. Because they need him, he's like you were saying earlier, Jimmy, the Levshunov should be that number 1, maybe number 1, number 2, but Rinzel was up there for number 1, number 2 as well. They were likely to be the top 2 defensive prospects for a long time in this team. Well, you could flip flop them either way, one or two. So like with Levshunov is more in his head, and now with Rinzel, it's kind of more with his play. Wasn't there. So we hope so, but you can't forecast this stuff. You don't know how these, young players are going to handle it. Some are very confident. Sam Rinzel seems like a really quiet guy.
Yeah.
Like very quiet, reserved guy. You don't seem to hear much from him. He doesn't seem to be a big shout, rah guy.
No.
He seems kind of more like I'm going to lead by my actions.
Yeah.
And keep my mouth shut kind of. And sometimes that's a good thing.
Yeah.
We'll see how it works.
And going down to Rockford and having some extra seasoning is not what it used to be. I know Wyatt Kaiser has gone down and come back and did that twice last year before becoming a mainstay this year. Del Mastro's been up and down a couple times. Levshunov played how many games down in the AHL? Let's not forget Sam Rinzel came right from the University of Minnesota to playing top pairing minutes of the NHL after only like a 10-game cameo. Everyone, including us, expected him to just take off, and it didn't work like that. So there's nothing wrong with going back to Rockford and getting some seasoning and kind of finding your game before you come back up, because eventually they're going to need him, right, Jimmy?
Absolutely. I mean, getting to watch him in his time in Rockford, he's got 4 assists in 3 games. Well, really, you could say 4 assists in 2 games. They got shut out 1-0 to Grand Rapids, which is an achievement in itself. Grand Rapids is a wagon. Getting the ability to just be reminded that you're a really good hockey player is very important for young players. I think we saw that with Korchinski, and we saw a little bit this year in Rinzel. Like, confidence is a big thing for young players. I think Rinzel had that expectation put on him that, like, hey, like, I could fight, Levshunov for the first pairing right-handed defenseman. And when I struggle, I feel like I'm not reaching expectations. I'm no longer a good player. And that could happen a lot for young guys. It happened a little bit for Korchinski, whereas you saw like ebbs and flows where, like, when he was high and he was playing well his rookie year, it was awesome. But there were a lot of times like, man, this kid looks lost out there. He looks like he's in his own head. But especially this year, both of those kids, Rinzel and Korchinski, in their time in the AHL, they're confident. They're confident as hell. Korchinski looks so good. I think he's going to go back-to-back AHL All-Stars. Sam Rinzel, as I mentioned, back-to-back games with 2 assists. Hockey's like all sports is it's a game, but between your ears. It's a sport where you need to mentally be there, and you need to mentally believe in yourself. And that's what Chicago has treated Rockford as when they send guys down. It's like, hey, and like Blashill said it outright, like, get your confidence with the puck. You're a great
swag back, I believe.
Like, get your swag back. Like, you're a good hockey player. We wouldn't draft you in the first round if we didn't believe you were a good hockey player. Get down there, play well, excel, work on things, and you'll be back. And I wouldn't be surprised if Rinzel gets back to the NHL by the Olympic break and get him a couple more games. I mean, he's really comfortable in the spot. And it's good that he has this positive attitude about his play. Like, yeah, I'm good. I'm a good player. It's good to be a good player. It's fun to be a good player down here in Rockford. And I look forward to him to being, a good, confident player in the NHL.
Yeah, and confidence is a big thing, not just going to Rockford. I mean, we see with Connor Bedard this year. At the end of last season, he wasn't confident. He was kind of dejected. He put the work in the offseason. He got faster. He got stronger. And you saw a more confident, effective player to start this year. So confidence is everything, I think, especially for young players. I wanted to switch gears here and talk about the lack of Hawks scoring without Connor Bedard. So the chatter on social media, obviously, is the Hawks have to add someone to help with the scoring. Well, as we've seen, like, free agency as we know it is dead. Like, there's not going to be any additions via free agency. And honestly, in my opinion, I think the only way the Hawks are going to improve their scoring is going to be internal growth. And guys like Frank Nazar, Ilya Mikheyev, Jason Dickinson, all those guys have to start scoring goals now. my question to you is, who do you think the Hawks need the most right now in terms of scoring goals? Who do you think the Hawks need the most right now? Jimmy, I'm going to go back to you.
I actually have a surprising answer. It's Nick Lardis. I
Okay.
think I've been paying attention to him since he came up in the corresponding move for Bedard's injury. And I don't want to say he's invisible, but you just get that feeling like this kid's itching for an offensive zone chance. He's got, a strong shot, but we haven't seen it a lot in his time in the NHL. I want to see this kid have that scoring confidence that I got to see when he was in Rockford, when I would, follow them. Like he needs that confidence. He needs to just be confident enough to find himself, at the right spots in the offensive zone. I know he's young. I don't think the expectations is for him to replace the offense that Connor Bedard has. But I would love to see another young forward in the prospect pool really show a scoring touch in the NHL. So I'm putting a little bit of hope in Lardis and the rest of his time here in the NHL before Bedard gets back. I just want to see him get net a couple goals. I want to see that there's some guys in the pipeline that could really, put the puck in the net when Connor Bedard isn't there. So I'm gonna actually say Nick Lardis here.
Gate, who do you think needs to put the puck in the net? You could say everyone, and that'd be a good answer.
Frank Nazar.
Yes.
21
games without a goal.
The way this guy came out of college and the way he played, after the season last year in international play, everyone was so high on him. And then he goes and he signs this extension for $6.5 million a year. Frank Nazar right now is not a $6.5 million player.
Nope.
He's signed for it and he's not making the money yet, but he signed for it. This is what he needs to be. You need to be a $6.5 million player, and he's not. He just simply is not. He's not even close to it. He's not a $3.5 million player right now. He needs to start scoring. It's been since I think it was October.
It was October, yeah.
When he last scored or something like that, the end of October or something like that. That is unacceptable, completely unacceptable. And if he's hurt, sit him.
Right.
Put him on IR. I know it's going to hurt you, and it's going to hurt you right now, but get him healthy. There's no reason that he needs to be out on the ice if he's hobbling around and he can't do what he needs to do. He's a young player. He needs the confidence. He needs to be healthy. He needs to use his speed. He hasn't been doing any of this, none of it. And it's rough. I wanted to believe in Frank Nazar, and I'm hoping that there's some kind of, excuse for why he's not playing. But right now, off the top, Frank Nazar is number one. You know what you're going to get out of Teravainen and Bertuzzi and those older guys and Burakovsky. Burakovsky, you probably say you want to see a little more out of him too. But right now, Frank Nazar was supposed to be. Yeah, Frank Nazar was it was Bedard Nazar, 1C, 2C. Yep. And when that 1C's hurt, the 2C's got to step in and try to fill that slot. And Nazar can't fill the 4C slot right now. So I want to like Frank Nazar. I want him to do well. I want him to earn that money, but he's not even close right now.
Yeah. No. It feels like, especially after that, where he skated himself out of a breakaway against the Rangers, you almost feel like he has the hockey version of the yips. I really feel like he's in his own head right now.
I think it's a combination of he was hurt for a little bit, he's back healthy, and he's just not, like you said, Jimmy, he's in his head, and he's just got to get a dirty goal, get something to get your confidence back. Because when he has his swag, he's an exciting player. He had the most breakaways in the NHL last year, and you're just not seeing that level of production.
Yeah, I hate to say it because it's annoying, but I miss 6'7". I miss it. I haven't seen his 6'7". I never thought I'd say I miss 6'7".
I heard it enough from my 6-year-old nephew over the weekend.
Frank, I need it, man. I need you to rip one past the goalie and hit him with one of these, man. I need the confidence. And I think Nazar, he's kind of like Rinzel. He's just young. He just needs to get his confidence. He needs to get his swag back. We saw a lot in the AHL. We saw it until basically November of this year. The kid can score. I just he's a young kid going through a really tough moment, but every young player needs this. I think he needs to. I think every young player needs a skid like this, but every young player needs to get himself out of the hole. And I think I agree with Gate. I think Nazar, you got the golden opportunity. Bedard's not there. You got to show that you can step in. Let's see a goal. Let's see you get there.
Yeah, and if he was just producing a little bit,
yes,
that would be fine. But like when you go out there and you're Asian and you go out there and you fight for the $6.5 million contract, and you say, I'm going to be the $6.5 million player, and then you come in there and you have the chance to be that $6.5 million player, and what do? You do nothing. You've done nothing. Yep. And like that's on him. That's on him now. You sold yourself, you bet on yourself, and the team kind of gave in and did it. And then what do? You go out there and you're letting them down. You're letting your team down by doing this. I don't care at this point. Like you could say he's young, you could say whatever, but like once you get into that echelon of being a $6.5 million player and you sign that contract, you have added responsibility.
Yep.
Just like when you get a job and you get a promotion. When you get a job and you get a promotion, what happens? There's more expectations that are put on you. There's more responsibilities that are put on you. And if you're not held up to those responsibilities, you get critiqued and you get talked to and you get reprimanded. And that's what needs to start happening here. Like it's now or never, bro. Start producing.
Yep. Another guy that I think needs to start producing. We got Pete saying hi. Hey, Pete, how are you?
To my boy Pete Fricano from the Net Perspective podcast.
Oh, Pete, good to have you on. Thanks for watching. Another guy I think needs to keep producing or start producing is Oliver Moore. Oliver Moore really hasn't scored at the NHL level. Like if you're gonna be an NHLer and the interview with Bedard and Nazar on 32 Thoughts, they said Moore was always chirping, skating around, using his speed, like always, high energy. Where is that? I haven't seen that. That's why I think the loss, and I'm going to keep harping on it, the loss the other night was so critical because they got goals from guys who haven't scored. Like Dominic Toronado is not an NHL guy. He's an AHL guy who's just filling a spot. So if you get any offensive production from that guy, it's gold. And then Jason Dickinson, that was his first goal in 10 games. And they couldn't hold a 2-0 lead on that one. I thought that it was even more frustrating because your best guy is out. You've got to get goals from somebody else. You get goals from somebody else, and you can't hold the lead. So Oliver Moore, Frank Nazar, Jason Dickinson, Ilya Mikheyev, basically any forward not named Bertuzzi or Teravainen has got to step up their game here. Because in this Bedard-less world, last year they went 3-10-2 when Bedard was out. You can't do that again if you want to take the next step. If you want to be a team that advances in your development, you got to win without him sometimes. It's just going to happen. And it's just very frustrating for me to see. So.
And, I mean, there's a reason we all picked very young players as the guys we need to score. We all picked the youngest guys because, we look at guys like Dickinson, Foligno, Mikheyev, Teravainen, and Bertuzzi. We know who they are. And for all those guys, we don't see them as the championship members of this team when they reach that peak. We look at Lardis, we look at Moore, and we look at Nazar. We go, hey, you need to be those guys when your time comes and you need to compete for championships. So good players, good young players get themselves out of their funks. I mean, I think back to it was Jonathan Toews in the 2015 finals or in the playoffs where he went 8 consecutive playoff games without a goal, and he showed up and showed out against Tampa. He had two. No, it was Tampa. He had 2 goals and 2 goals in a game in the finals, and he really stepped up. You need the guys that you look at and go hey, your high draft capital. Your guys, the fans really believe in for the long term. Your guys that this franchise has put a lot of eggs in this basket. Listen, if these guys don't work out, Kyle Davidson gets fired, and Kyle Davidson knows that, and these guys know that. If Mikheyev doesn't work out, Kyle Davidson probably doesn't get fired. Foligno, same thing. Teravainen, Bertuzzi, maybe a little bit because they're highly paid free agents. But if the guys like Kyle Davidson has put all his draft baskets, don't work out, and don't help Bedard, who is clearly one of the best players in the NHL, then a lot of asses are on the line. And I hate to put pressure on young players. I don't want to do that. But I also want to say, like, hey, you're in the big boy league. It's time to be big boys. You want to compete for championships. Frank Nazar in that post-game interview on TNT with Bedard said, hey, we don't want to lose anymore. We want to win. Well, you said it, not me. You put the pressure on yourself. I like that when players put the pressure on themselves, but you got to follow through. You know,
let me bring something up as far as like the young players go. And it's something now I'm going to read off these players to you and you tell me what they all have in common. And it's nothing like super deep. Okay. Mm-hmm. You have, let me start. Frank Nazar, Ryan Green, Oliver Moore, Artem Levshunov, Wyatt Kaiser. What do they all have in common?
I'm going to guess under team control past next year.
Sean, what'd you say?
They all went to college.
They all played college ball or college hockey. How many games do you play in a college season?
40 to 45.
You don't play
30 to 35.
Yep.
Where are they at in the Blackhawks season? 30 to 35.
Yep.
So, you know, that could play somewhat into some of this too. This is a big thing that, like, over the years, we used to go back and forth with Aaron Goldschmidt when Garrett Goldschmidt was part of the Rink and when JJ was around, about the difference between kids who played in major juniors and kids who play in college, the difference between that. Because in college, you're playing with cages on and you're playing 30 games a season. And in major juniors, you're playing full, open face shields and you're playing maybe 60 games a season, which can be a difference. Now I get that, Levshunov last year played in the AHL. And so that's a thing. But like, if you look at all those players, they're hitting that 30 game mark where they have been in basically all of their career. They've maybe never played more than 35 to 40 games in a season. And now they're going to be going into an 80 game season. So that could be an adjustment as well, but that is still no excuse. They have to find a way to overcome that and to continue to produce. You can't use that as a crutch either. I just wanted to bring that up.
That's a great point. And the Hawks first round pick, who's at the University of Massachusetts, whose name I'm not even gonna try to pronounce. Yes,
Nestor, yeah.
Yes, he said he went to college specifically because of the amount of games they play, so he could get bigger and stronger during the season. Because obviously they don't play so many games, so you could be in the weight room more, building your body more, and you won't wear down as much. So you could add muscle during the season. He said that in an interview recently. So it's pretty interesting that you brought that up about college hockey and the college skaters. So just a little fact here. All right, fellas, before we get out of here, I have a trivia question for you. So Leon,
I'm going to stink at this, by the way.
What's up?
I'm going to stink at this, by the way. I was totally unprepared.
I don't think it'll be. So Leon Draisaitl became the first German-born player to reach 1,000 NHL points.
Dang it, you stole my answer.
And that would be correct. It's one of the Blackhawks one of the German Blackhawks players ever played with the Blackhawks. There's also two other guys. Who are the other two German players to play for the Blackhawks? One player, he was born in Prague, but he lived the majority of his life in Germany before he came over. He was a German professional before he came over. He played with the Blackhawks in 1819.
Oh, God. I'm gonna smack myself after you tell me what this is, because it's probably
was he a forward or defenseman?
He was a forward.
That's such a weird year. God, I have no idea.
I pulled my rabbit out of the hat already.
Dominic Cahoon.
Oh,
Dominic Cahoon.
I like Cahoon.
I
like that guy.
And then the other German-born player, this gentleman played for the Hawks. That's it. He was more known for his time in San Jose, although he bounced around. He was traded for another defenseman in that season. Played 8 games for the Hawks.
Christian Ehrhoff? No.
That is correct. Christian Ehrhoff.
Yeah, Christian
Hey,
Ehrhoff.
2 for 3.
Boom.
On fire. On fire.
Wow. I thought I was going to screw this up.
I try not to do the super hard questions. I'm not like Jimmy, who asked us to name every first round pick from the 2017 draft. I will never let you forget
that down.
Nope. All right. Last thing before we get out of here. A Chicago-based group has purchased the Pittsburgh Penguins from the Fenway Sports Group. Could we see the Chicago Penguins at all, ever? Or is that just, highfalutin, I don't even know what, just an off the cuff remark?
No, that's just a joke.
Joke? Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, the Fenway Group is based out of Boston. They didn't move the Penguins to Boston.
Exactly. Great point. Excellent point.
Yep.
Yeah, people buy teams from other cities or, companies from other cities. It happens all the time.
Yeah,
it is kind of
a lot of times. It's very common in modern purchases, or you even have a term in your contract. If you buy the team, it does not leave the city unless this thing happens or X amount of years has passed. And if you break that, you have to force a sale. So I'm guessing at this point, a lot of sports teams have that in their contracts. If they're going to sell, you can't move this, you have to remain in the city. So
if the Penguins were going to leave, they were going to leave before they got Lemieux, when they were bankrupt and bad, and nobody was going to games until they got Lemieux. So they're probably never leaving.
They would move to Kansas City like they were rumored to do in the early 2000s before they would move to a city with another team. I think it's so hard, especially in a modern sport age, to just move to a city with an established team. Sure, Chicago is big enough to have 2 baseball teams, but those are 2 baseball teams that have been there since the beginning of the 20th century. You can't really double up on a big metropolitan anymore, unless you're the Rams and Chargers. But that
usually you pay double for that kind
of happen. And let's be honest, why would they move? There's no reason for them to move.
Right.
They're doing well. They're entrenched in entrenched community. I've spent a lot of time in the Pittsburgh area. My son played for a youth team there for a while, and the Penguins are so weaved into the fabric of Pittsburgh and the hockey culture in that area. There's no reason for them to move. People go to the games. People love the team. People love Sidney Crosby. They love Malkin. I mean, I know they're going to retire at some point in time, but there's no reason. They're not hurting. They're making money. They have
an established
building
history in the city.
They're building. They own 8 to 10 rinks around the city of Pittsburgh that they sponsored and built to build the ball hockey, the deck hockey culture in that city. And everything, revolves around the Penguins as far as hockey goes in that city. There would be no reason for them to move. And why would the Hawks, they wouldn't come to Chicago because the Hawks aren't leaving. So like Jimmy said, you don't need another professional NHL team in Chicago.
Yeah. Especially now, with you'd have to build a new arena. And as we're seeing with the Chicago Bears, their Arlington Heights, I don't know if you guys saw, but they're Kevin, I forget his name, the CEO.
Kevin Warren, the CEO of the Bears.
He came out today and he basically said we're being put on hold for the Arlington Heights build, and they're starting to expand their search even to Northwest Indiana for a new stadium for the Bears. So good luck building another stadium.
They're just trying to leverage that to give the state to give them more money. That's all it is.
Yeah, but
that's all it is.
Yeah, because they're already planning in that Arlington Heights thing. They're already redoing the roads up there and all the exits and everything, getting it ready to go up there. I don't believe a word of it.
Yep. Yeah. No, they're not going to move the Bears to Indiana because they're not going to do it.
That was when they were going to move the White Sox.
Any parting shots before we get out of here? Yeah, Tampa Bay. And so they were going to move into where the Rays used to play until the roof blew off. Tropicana Field.
Yeah.
Any parting shots? Any thoughts on the NHL at large before we get out of here, fellas?
Man, that's Jari.
Tristan Jarry, Stuart Skinner switched places. Quinn Hughes joined the division, which sucks because Quinn Hughes is the second best defenseman in the NHL behind Cal McCarr, and Cal McCarr is way better than Hughes, and Hughes is still really good.
Yeah.
So,
but I will say
hopefully,
I will say though, Vancouver got really good value. I think getting Marco Rossi and Boyum, and I forget the other player, but he was another forward. He was a first-round pick, plus another first-round pick.
Liam Olsen or something like
Olsen,
that.
Yeah, he's solid. He's really solid. So I think Vancouver got really good value. I think it's, but it kind of feels like the Raiders trading Khalil Mack. Like you do feel like that franchise, the image of that franchise is really, stumbled after this trade. It's just their ownership group is really bad. Like they just refuse to rebuild, and they kick out anyone in the front office that even like dares to say, "Hey, we should rebuild." But yeah, it's a
front
really
office
good trade.
sucks too.
Really bad.
That's why they brought in whose name is
Rutherford?
escaping me. Yes, that's
Jim
why they brought in
Rutherford?
Jim Rutherford, because he was supposed to be the calming influence on that front office and hopefully, make them credible again.
A 90-year-old guy you're going to bring in there to run your
I know.
team.
Yeah.
The guy could be, the most out of touch person that you could bring in, and they bring him in.
Yeah. What this may sound, crass, but like it felt like they brought him in to soundproof the Fuhrer bunker. Like, come on. Like, I love Jim. I think Jim is going to be a Hockey Hall of Famer for his, job as an executive.
I think as a builder, I think is he in already or?
I have no idea, but I think he should. Like,
yeah,
he won 3 cups in executive, but like that was it. I don't blame him completely for what's going on in Vancouver. He probably has marching orders, but like the guys in charge in Vancouver, just their inability to accept a rebuild has caused this team to be mediocre to bad for the last 10 years.
I think it's almost the Canadian mindset because Calgary is the same way.
Yeah.
Calgary hasn't accepted a rebuild. They just re-upped everybody in their front office, and their team stinks. And they have no plans to trade Kadri, which is idiotic. So I think it's just that Canadian mindset that you can never rebuild in Canada.
Which is really funny because I interact with Canadian hockey fans all the time, and they're like, why aren't we rebuilding? Do they think we're rabid? Do you think that does the front office think we don't know what a rebuild does? Like, yeah, I honestly think front office, like a lot of Canadian front offices operate like it's the 90s, and they think their fans are like dumb, and like they think their fans won't accept a rebuild. But like every time I see a Vancouver fan on Twitter just being like, why isn't this team rebuilding? Everyone's like, yeah, we should be rebuilding. Why we keep doing this like perpetual retool? So
it almost feels like they're putting their hopes on trying to sign Bedard and Celebrini someday, which is never going to happen because they're not going to. Celebrini not leaving.
Chicago and San Jose are never going to let them leave because of the cap.
Yeah, and it's like this incredibly out of touch hope that they're going to be able to bring home these hometown guys, and it's just not going to happen. Those guys probably don't even want to be there. They could see what's going on there, and I'm sure they hear it from the people who they know on those teams, how the teams run and what's going on behind the scenes and stuff. Do you think you're just going to show up and think and ignore all how that's been going over there? I mean, they're not going to.
Yeah.
Brian Burke, the former general manager of the
guy, Berkey. Yeah,
Berkey. I love Berkey. I listen to him when he's on the sheet with Merrick all the time, and I've read his book. And I'll probably read it again. He said when he was.
Sean, you muted yourself. Sean, you muted yourself. Sean, you muted.
Oh, I muted myself because my wife is talking to my dog kind of loud.
He's talking and he's muting himself. This is great.
In any event, Berkey was saying that most Canadian guys, as soon as if they get a no trade clause, they put all the Canadian teams on there because they don't want to deal with that media scrutiny in Canada, being a Canadian star in Canada. So. I mean,
no, it's like going to the Yankees or whatever times 100.
Yep.
Like why would anyone want to play in Toronto?
No. I don't know. Anyone who thinks McDavid, when he leaves Edmonton, because he's going to leave, in my opinion, he's not going to Toronto. He's never going to go to Toronto. He's going to leave Canada, in my opinion. But that's
why do you guys think everyone wants to go to Dallas, Tampa, or Florida? Well, A, they see a lot of success, and B, like
the no income tax state.
That too, and like their media is like really chummy with the team because it's like, ooh, we're America and we're playing this pretty niche sport for this area really well. It's really cool, you know.
Well,
so
and look at those markets and imagine those guys just walking down the street. Do you think people are going to know who they are?
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, imagine
they can have personal life.
Jones having a bad day and then like walking the streets of Miami. I don't think anyone would confront him at all.
No.
And be like, "What the hell was that last night?" Not
if I'm McDavid, go to Anaheim. You're by the beach. Nobody's gonna know who you are. Like it'd be perfect.
God, they look so bad in orange though.
But that's besides the point. I think we're getting off topic here, and we've just reached about an hour.
It's a good subject though. It's a good talk though.
It is, and we can touch on this in future podcasts. All right. Anything else before we get out of here? We've reached the hour mark, and I think we should declare victory.
Mm-hmm. That works for me.
I'm happy. I think this was a great podcast. I think we had some good subjects.
All right. Well, I'm Sean for the Gatekeeper and Jimmy O'Malley. Thank you for watching and listening to The Rink, and we'll catch you the next time. Deuces.